How can you create a more positive environment to help you age well? That's primarily what I'm talking about tonight, plus a few other things. Hi, I'm Marianne from One Life to Flourish. I'm a wellness mindset coach and an intuitive energetic healer. I'm passionate about women releasing their emotional blocks and creating a transformational experience of their midlife where they can get really clear about their passion and their purpose. So before I start talking about the importance of our environment, which it is very important, I'm just going to take a little bit of a side trip around the Olympics, because as we know, hopefully, the Olympics have been going on and have now just finished. And it was pretty amazing, wasn't it? It was just inspirational watching some of those different things that happened. But the thing that really inspired me from the Olympics was how many people who were in midlife were competing. And some of them in some pretty unusual kind of events for someone who's in midlife, if you want to make that judgment. So two of the oldest competitors there were from Australia. They were equestrians. One was Mary Hannah. She was 66 years old. She was actually the oldest competitor, so pretty cool. And then there was Andrew Hoy, also an equestrian, who's 62, and he became Australia's oldest medalist. So pretty amazing. Another pretty incredible one was a 46-year-old female gymnast competing for Uzbekistan. 46 for a gymnast. That's crazy, isn't it? And then what about Santiago Raul Lang, or something like that, hopefully, a 59-year-old sailor from Argentina who had also been battling lung cancer and I think had actually lost part of a lung or something. Pretty crazy. Georgia had a 52-year-old female shooter. The US had Jake Gibb, who was a 45-year-old volleyballer. That's pretty energetic kind of thing. And there were actually two 46-year-old skateboarders, one who came from South Africa and one who came from Denmark. Now, that is not an exhaustive list of some of the older competitors, but just goes to show you that when you have a focus, when you have a passion and you have a purpose, age is not important. Your attitude is the most important thing, and that's what I would encourage you to remember. That's probably one of the keys to aging well, over and above everything else that I talk about. All right, that's my little side journey. Let's get back to talking about the environment. So where we live in particular, but also where we work, those locations that we spend a lot of time in have a really big impact on us. So it's really important to actually make sure that they are positive environments. And there are two ways that I want you to kind of think about it. So the first one is to think about what might need to be taken out of your environment or swapped for something better, because there are a lot of things that we just naturally bring into our environment that are maybe not the best things to be there. So some of the things to think about are things like cleaners, detergents, paints, insecticides, and other kinds of substances. So often they have chemicals in them that can have an impact on our health. And part of that impact can actually be in turning off our longevity genes. And some of them can also really impact our health, even to the point of being cancer causing. So there's a whole range of different things to think about. So thinking about, like your cleaners and your detergents and that sort of thing, check and make sure that you've got ones that are made from safe kinds of chemicals. Another thing to think about, and this is more in the home than in your workplace, but cookware that's made from Teflon has a high risk because Teflon has been linked to hypertension and cancer. Now, interestingly, Teflon is also part of a lot of shaving creams. So think about that one. One that I find a little bit bizarre that I hadn't sort of thought about before. Actually, inkjet printers can be a bit of a problem. So apparently they, when they're printing stuff, they send out like really little particles that can have an impact on our health. I'm not sure that I can get by without my printer, but maybe there's a safer way that I can actually use it. And then there's things like plastics that contain PCBs, and this is lots of like plastic bottles and takeaway containers that you might come across when you're at work if you're not taking your own lunch. And particularly being careful about those sorts of containers going in the microwave as well. And then there's things that sort of give us exposure to radiation, just low levels of radiation. But it has been found that they can have an impact on our longevity genes and actually switching them off. So this is kind of like some of the light that we have, X-rays, gamma rays, radon, all these sorts of things that can be part of equipment and materials and lights and things that are in our homes and in our workplaces. So those are things that we can actually start to have a look at and actually change over. Now, the other one that has a really big impact on us if we live in a city is things like the fumes from cars and other vehicles that are around, and other sorts of, I suppose, air pollution that's just part of being in a city. So some of these things we can't really do much about, but we can try and come up with the best options where we can, and then try and alleviate some of the other negative impacts by making other kinds of positive choices. So like some of the other ones that I've talked about around what you can eat, you exercise, all of those sorts of things. So we can manage some of it and we can balance some of it, essentially. All right, so the second part of our environment is actually making sure that we've created a really positive, beautiful haven for our home, where we're actually living. This is the place that should bring us a sense of peace, a sense of joy, a sense of calm. Not always happening, is it? All right, but there are things that we can kind of do to help it a little bit more that way, other than, kicking everybody out who upsets your environment. Sometimes not possible, is it? All right, but maybe think about finding yourself a calm corner that you can set up in your home that is your place to go to just kind of de-stress. That's if you can't create a beautiful haven from your own home. Maybe think about what can you do in your garden as well. Now, the other part of that can be important is to think about what you might need to remove from your environment. So, do you need to clear some physical junk, some physical clutter out of your home? I know I do. And I've known this for a while, but I still just haven't done it. But clearing out that sort of junk is a really good thing to do, because when we keep it, it actually does create an emotional impact, actually an emotional, mental and physical impact. So there's kind of a stagnant energy that's created when we just hold on to stuff. And that's where the physical, emotional and or mental impact can come from. So it can actually block us from making positive changes in our life. And, if you think about your home environment, even your work environment, if it's clear, clean and organized, then it just seems to create a better place to actually think and do things. So what's actually been found by people who research this stuff is that when we have gotten rid of a whole lot of the clutter and the stuff that we don't need, it will reduce our stress levels. It's also going to reduce our feelings of shame and inadequacy. Like we really get negative emotional impact from just holding on to this stuff. Having all of this stuff around also creates a distraction. So if we get rid of it, we can be more focused on what we need to be. Definitely a good thing when we're at work. And then really interesting one is that when we get rid of the clutter in our home, it actually changes our behavior. And if you've got kids, particularly, ones that are still at school or younger, then it actually changes their behavior. So it changes your behavior into something more positive, but it has an impact on your kids as well. So some things to think about. These are my takeaways from what I've talked about today. So first of all, when we change our mindset about aging and change the barriers that we put around ourselves, the restrictions we put around ourselves, we can achieve anything, just like some of these athletes that were in the Olympics. But it can be in anything. It doesn't have to be in athletics. It can be in any sort of thing. Remove your barriers, achieve what you want to achieve. Next thing, think about what harmful things might be in your environment that you can swap for something that's better, and do that. And then the final thing is try and create a calm, clear, positive environment at home and at work, especially at home. Have a lovely safe haven, even if it's one little corner of your house that's your haven. Okay, so next week I am going to be talking about how our bodies can heal themselves under the right circumstances. So if you think about it, our bodies do a whole lot of self-healing all the time. That's what they're made to do. But there are ways that we can maximize that for super aging. Now, meanwhile, if you're interested in finding out more about what I do, then please drop a yes in the comments and I will be happy to have a chat with you. So this week I'm offering 2 places in my midlife healing journey program at my incredible case study price, which is truly incredible for what you get. And this could be a chance to find out a bit more, see if you want to take part in the program at that price. There is not going to be another intake into the program until October after this week. And if you know that you need to remove some of your emotional blocks, then maybe think about doing Breakthrough Your Emotional Blocks, because it's a program designed to do exactly that. Break down those blocks in an incredibly quick and effective way. All right. Nice chatting with you again. Have a really great week. Maybe see if you've got time to do a bit of clearing out, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.